5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Pretty good, pretty good. Excited to actually preview Titans matches this week, but we've been burnt before. I don't want to jinx it. We have some curses flying about as is, so how's your week been going?
It's going okay. Apparently my voice has dropped.
Yeah, well, puberty,
Let the rumors begin.
it comes and goes, I guess. What? We just got to match him.
It's not a symptom, right? Your voice going lower?
I don't know. I would say you inhaled helium, but that goes the other way, right?
What's the reverse of helium?
Yeah, the reverse helium.
Or is it all your guys' headphones? Somebody leave a comment in chat. Is my voice actually lower?
It's like very low. Yeah.
She's waiting for Riot to hit us up.
Yeah, it's a little hard to compete with Valorant right now, but but I'm happy. Yeah, but I'm happy that like even people in submarines apparently can listen to us, right? Periscopes, that's the term for that.
So literally, the reason we are 8 minutes late is because I was on Amazon buying a Switch. Shout out to my boy DP for hooking me up with the link. I will get one sometime this year, whenever shipping happens. But I am very grateful. I think until I have it in hand and my wife is playing Animal Crossing, it still counts. So there's still time, right? You can still get in our good books.
Man, I'm just praying for the shipping gods to deliver Final Fantasy VII Remake on time. It probably won't ever happen. But I got everything going on. I got it from Best Buy, so I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Sorry, you ordered an espresso or you ordered an espresso machine? Nespresso. I'm like, you ordered a coffee that's just sitting at the depot? Oh, man. Nice. You gotta stay awake.
Oh, yeah.
moving the payload. Join me.
Well, I addressed that question. I think you have some audio issues and some people in chat can't really hear you, Chris. So I'll answer that. How am I going to approach these games? I think the game that's will be played at 1 a.m., I'll just wait for it because 1 a.m. is just like, well, we normally go to sleep around midnight as is. But for that one on 3 at 3 a.m., I think it's just a morning game, not really a night game. So I just might set up the alarm to wake up at 2:45 and watch it and just get back to work when I wake up because my work starts at around, I don't know, 7.
It's a
7:30.
Saturday. It's a Friday,
It's
Saturday
weird.
morning, right?
Weird.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
Friday
oh,
night,
that's perfect
Saturday
on the
morning.
weekend. So 100%, I'm going to just wake up for the 3 a.m. game. But that 1 a.m., I'm just going to wait for it.
So I actually test drove the whole China game live system this weekend, and I tried to stay up. And the first game, the 1 a.m. is fine. It's totally fine. Obviously, you're a little bit tired. The caster's a little bit tired, but it's very doable. 3 a.m. is not doable. Like, by that point, you either don't care, hallucinating, or both. So for sure, I think I will just kind of break my bad habit of checking my phone first thing in the morning, all phones off, Discord off, and watch the VOD in the morning.
If it was like another team's game, I would fall asleep for sure. But since it's the Titans, I'll be into it. I don't think there'll be any problems.
See, the struggle for me, and I'm hoping that those on the live stream can hear me now. I did a little reconfiguration. I am positive you listening to the podcast will be able to hear me tomorrow. But the thing that is going to be difficult for me is that 3 a.m. because it puts me in this position where if I stay up late to watch it, I'm then going to bed afterwards, and in turn, hoping beyond hope that I can actually get enough sleep so that I can then function Saturday and going into staying up late to watch the Sunday match. I have this, variable called baby force that, soon to be 3-year-old daughter of mine who does not understand that daddy needs to stay up late and possibly then sleep in. So again, this is going to be a struggle, and I guess the new reality. I'm going to hope that the Titans play more of these 1 a.m. matches than they do on the 3 a.m. side. And, it would have been easier if Monday, was the holiday. This is the Easter weekend, and for many of us, we might get Good Friday off, but we don't necessarily get Easter Monday off. So we don't have that recovery day. Anywho.
Yeah. I think it's a good time to invest in a TV in the bedroom because we just have one in the living room. Never had a reason for one in the bedroom, but maybe now will be at the time. My cat will probably wake me up at 3. That's around the time where he just hops into bed and starts walking around on my back, on my face. Mm-hmm. See how that goes.
But I'm genuinely curious, those of you who are watching the stream right now and those of you tuning into the podcast a little bit later, how is it that you're going to approach these weekend games? For those of us, at least in North America, I know for anyone who might be in Asia, it's a little bit easier, obviously. And if you're in Europe, probably not in too bad. I think that there is the ability to then just get up pretty early in the morning and watch. But genuinely curious, how are you approaching the Vancouver Titans? Are you going to do what Sam was thinking, maybe do the VOD? Or are you going to do what Omni and I possibly are going to be doing, which is staying up late? Now, enough of what we're going to be doing as far as watching the Vancouver Titans. Let's actually talk about the matches. So the Vancouver Titans are going to face off against the Guangzhou Charge. And I can't say I know a lot about the Charge. I did not stay up late this past weekend to watch them. Sam, was that one of the matches you caught? I know you were up. Was it Sunday or was it Saturday? I mean, the struggle was the way the game shifted. So
like days are a social construct, so I'm not trying to be funny. I legitimately don't know which day it was. Plus, it's the same 4 teams that were playing both days.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit confusing. But I want to say it was Friday night or Saturday night.
It would have been Saturday
something
night,
like that.
Yeah.
Saturday night. But yeah, like there was a couple people on Titans Core just watching away. It was kind of fun. It's got tiring real quick, but I think it's going to be a lot different when the Titans are playing. I think it's actually going to take time for me to get used to caring about the results of a match again. I think just kind of rolling through that in my brain is a little bit of a foreign concept right now. Just, obviously whenever we watch a match, there's a team we kind of want to win, but if they don't, it's no big deal. Life goes on, but there's a little bit more punch to it when the Titans are down or when the Titans are up. So I'm looking forward to having feelings again.
Yeah. You got that stone heart thing now. You just wanted to crack open. Yeah, I did watch those games. Not during the night. I just whenever I woke up during, I think it was Sunday and not the one on Monday, but the ones that are there.
Yeah,
played,
Saturday to Sunday. Yeah.
Morning watch with breakfast. There's a few things that we need to address here. I don't think watching this week's games could be predictors to what we're going to see for the Titans matches, because first of all, the compositions will be different. Compositions as they look now with the hero bands, we might be looking in a Ryan Zarya meta, McCree May for sure, most of the games, and Lucio Moira, which was played heavily, even though Anna wasn't banned yet. That was like the biggest pair we saw. But we will see some weird map picks like Torbjorn, who's suddenly really, really strong. We'll definitely see a ball for the first game when we play the second game. I meant when Hunters, they didn't really look that good without Among playing his signature hero. Doomfist will obviously be played. Maybe Brig a little bit. Genji might play a big of Hacksaw. I didn't make a mistake there. I still think that Genji is a Hacksaw main. But other than that, I don't know. The big thing, if you did watch these games, it seemed like the Chinese teams are really adamant on running that Reaper Sombra composition, which now they can't really play. Sombra is out of the picture. So I think it'll be, for them, it'll be a little bit tougher to adjust because it seemed like their bread and butter throughout this week. For us, who knows what the bread and butter for us is really now, because we haven't played in so long. If we are talking about the Charge a little bit, we're going to talk maybe a little, touch those games a little bit later. But it seems like this week they played a bit better. It looks like when Nero plays with Eileen, they do have a little bit better synergy than when he plays with Happy, and this week we're gonna probably see Happy more because Happy is their hit-scan specialist, and we might see that Widow or McCree come out. So I'm confident as to our chances against both teams. They didn't really impress me that much. I think the best team out of the Chinese teams is Shanghai. It was kind of like a rock, paper, scissors for a while there, but it looks like Shanghai is starting to.
Yeah, they're better. They're better by a mile.
Yeah, well, with the smaller sample size, it does look like that. And Guangzhou is probably the better pick, the better team if you compare them to the Hunters. But with the Hunters playing Hammond, who knows, right? They can definitely throw a curveball, and hopefully the Titans are now set without any jet lag or maybe that much rust. Even though, like, I was happy to see today. Outside of all the Valorant players on Twitch, you could see Fisher just grinding and playing Overwatch all day. So that kind of made me happy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to those matches.
Well, speaking of Fisher grinding Overwatch, he must have, needed to warm himself up on a little Animal Crossing, get himself all pissed off at Tom Nook, and then taking it out on
Yeah,
the
even
tunes
more.
in OW. So I did not stay up late to watch those matches, and I'm actually surprised here. There was little Torb action in Asia because there was a ton of Torb
In NA, a
NA.
lot. Oof, it was definitely interesting. So the thing is, with McCree and May, I don't think it'll be like so much Torb like we saw this week, but it was interesting to see how good of a pick he is, because he always was like treated as this meme character who only like players in bronze and silver and gold play. But when you see players like top 500 players with that incredible mechanics and the backup from them teammates, that character can wreak a lot of havoc. So unless you're a DK, you cannot really stop a Torb, apparently, just from watching this week. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I've never seen so many hammer kills before. And you could tell they're totally going to go full hammer. What was it? Was Corey and who was it that was going at it?
It was definitely against Dallas. Note was killed like 5 times.
Well,
with
no,
the hammer.
it was like Torb versus Torb,
Chaos.
and in chat they were just going at it. It was Corey and who was it with the fusion? It was playing Torb. Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway,
Arpe?
Might have been Carpe. I just know, Torb is my new, second favorite.
I actually think I'm predicting there's actually going to be more Far Mercy, because it definitely with the Hunters, because I called it out on chat at the time, like Jinmu's best character by far is the Pharah, and to hell with the meta, he should just play Pharah anyway. But I think for whatever reason, China doesn't seem like, I mean, it would be China, I mean the region, they don't seem to like to play Torb, and a lot of Torb play was the counter Tracer and the Sombra. They'd rather mirror from just watching those couple games. So I feel like we're gonna see Far Mercy actually as an alternative to what we just talked about with Widow.
I think so, because normally you'd see a strong counter on the opposing team with a McCree or Widow, which we don't really have.
Well, Stitch.
Yeah, but how much did he play the McCree? Even when we saw McCree, he did have some good showings. Well, we played just 2 games, so.
Well, I mean, we obviously don't know. Like, we could see Stitch coming in as a soldier. I mean, we've seen him, last year, where the thought would be that, he'll be the McCree, the Widow, the Hanzo, and
Tracer is also viable,
right?
Yeah.
Like they're I mean, if we see a pharmacy though, I mean, I think that's where soldier makes more sense than a Tracer does. But looking at these 2 matches, I mean, we know very little about the Vancouver Titans because it hasn't been a short time since they last played. If we rely on Reinforce in his power rankings, still got the Vancouver Titans at the top, though in this latest edition, he prefaced it by saying, they don't move because they've not played. So let's talk a little bit about this Guangzhou Charge match. Do the Vancouver Titans win this one? Do they win it easily, or is this a matchup that we should be concerned about?
I'm going to call this a close 3-1.
Okay, for the Titans?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going 3-1 too.
Yeah, but even the maps we win, they're not going to be easy, in my opinion. It's just that rust and just the nature of the games right now with the hero pools. A lot of fights are really determined by these split-second decisions or just by someone popping off. So I can see I can see Fisher clutch out a lot of these fights. Maybe our support duo, maybe Paxel. I feel like we have a little bit more talent spread out across the 6-player lineups that we can put up, but it's going to be a difficult match where our heart rate is going to go up for sure.
Sam?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 3-1 for me too, but I already mentioned it last week, but I really like Eileen on the soldier actually. I think it comes down to a lot of the battle of the non-Annas. So Shu is known for being an Anna, Twilight's known for being a pretty good Anna. So it's how it comes down to how they adapt. And I think Twilight and Rue, Jaehong and Slime are a bit more flexible than their support duo. But Rio's actually really impressed me on the Rhine so far. I didn't really think much of it, and he was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, Prong is good too.
I'm going to say 3-2. And it's not because I think the Vancouver Titans aren't, that's what the Titans win. It's not that the Vancouver Titans aren't the better team. It's just that they're going to be rusty. Like, you could argue, well, both should be, but the Charge have a weekend of play that the Vancouver Titans have not had in a long time. And I don't believe it's a fair argument to go and suggest that the Vancouver Titans, having played a few matches months ago, are somehow warm and ready to go, whereas the Charge aren't. So I'm going to say Titans 3-2. That takes us to the next match of the weekend, which was the Titans versus the Hunters. So is this an Omni Wrecking Ball special? Like, is that all we're going to see? Is it going to be just chaos from the Hunters?
Yeah, I mean, they're now 1-3, but their games are so close. There's so much chaos that ensues, and every time that teams are trapped into playing that Chengdu style, it seems like they're bringing teams down to their, I don't want to say level in a bad way, but in that chaotic approach, they don't seem to beat Chengdu because they're so good at that. And I just want us to be, show some discipline and not like try to fall down to that trap, and I think we'll be good. But we did have some weird matchups with Chengdu. Even during Goats, they gave us a scare. So
so that was when Omni played Ryan and the Titans didn't have an answer. But if we think back to that first matchup, the Vancouver Titans had that one and then proceeded to, I don't know, tilt. They maybe got overconfident in their abilities, and I think they allowed the Hunters then to get back into it. The subsequent match, not at all a challenge. So I'm not going to suggest last year and this year have any parallels, but I feel that looking at these two rosters, I see this as being a much easier match. I feel the Vancouver Titans have the variety necessary with the current bands to adapt, as Sam had mentioned on the support line specifically. Sure, I think the Hunters can provide a little chaos up front, but I still see that this is in my mind, a 3-1 win for the Titans.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the only position where there might be some risk is Jinmu and Haxel. Obviously, it's a good matchup for Haxel, but whoever is going to play against Sleeve, it's going to be a tough matchup. Whatever than that, I agree.
I don't think the Hunters are a good team, but I am predicting a Hunters 3-2 win.
Wow.
I hope someone's watching and clipping that crazy right now. Team.
Spicy.
That should be clipped. I'm not liking this prediction, but predictions are predictions, and I'll either look smart or look like an idiot, and that's the way the ball rolls. But I don't like the Far Mercy matchup. The Titans have last season struggled against the Farah and struggled against the Bastion, but I highly doubt we'll see Bastion just for whatever reason. And I think the Hunters are almost impossible to prepare for, but because it kind of feels like they don't know what they're doing until like 3 minutes before the match. In the 2 games that they played last week, they changed the support line completely. They just rotated out. I don't know if it was like a 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off hockey shift thing, but in that sense, it's just like I think the Titans might underprepare. I'm making wild accusations by this point, but it's possible, right? Just because like you don't know what you're going up against, you don't know what they're going to play, then just roll with talent. And the Titans have the talent to pull it off, but I feel like they might actually end up tilting this. So 3-2 Hunters. There you go. Have at me.
I would have gone for the 1-1 split for us. For this weekend, only if it were still a Sombra meta, but because they're also like, pushing at straws and not really sure what to play because the Sombra was so prominent and we had a history of not really performing well against that, I think we're good with the 2-0. Well, we'll see.
I was going to say, like, when Stitch was playing Sombra in sort of the Sombra Goats meta that we saw last year, Stitch came in and he acquitted himself well. Where the struggle was when you had so playing on the Sombra and
right. They adapted.
Yeah, it
Jinmu's
was,
Sombra was not good. So I'm very confident on Stitch on the Sombra if it was a head-to-head, but that's not the case in this one.
well, you
Who's
heard
going
it
to
here.
start for the Titans, though?
For what? For damage?
Well, yeah, I think who's going to start for tank? It's not going to be us, is it?
Hey, I'm sorry, Sam, but
So
you saw that clip I dropped in top plays. You were there to witness it live. I'm like,
Yeah, but that's
I'm an
only when
OP
I'm
tank.
when I'm buffing you with the late nano.
I got so much value out of that nano. It was phenomenal. If you aren't sure what we're talking about right now, you need to go into Titan's Core, check the Top Plays channel. You'll see a clip that I submitted, and it's all sorts of good fun. But before we take ourselves a quick break and dive into the fray, I just want to point out that Sam hates the Titans.
That is not what the clip says. Please listen to the whole show.
But no, in all seriousness, you've been seeing this, for those of you in the live stream, some messages about Extra Life. But for those of you who are listening to this podcast, we talked about the Extra Life campaign near the end of last season, but it's a campaign that's close to my heart. The simple premise behind Extra Life is that you play games, you heal kids, but it's a fundraising campaign to raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals in Canada and the United States. And we at Ready Set Pwn are personally looking to support the BC Children's Hospital Foundation, being that it's our local CMH facility. Now, one of the things that I would ask for those of you who have the ability to do so is to support us with a modest donation. And to do that, you just need to go to extra-life.org/team/ReadySetPwn, or if that link is too hard, it's bit.ly/2020 RSP Extra Life. Sorry, bit.ly/RSP Extra Life 2020. It's a good thing I wrote it down. But for those of you who are unable to provide the donation, I get it. Times are tough. The situation is extremely dynamic. All I'd ask that you maybe do is look for ways to support us. And one of the ways that you can is if you play video games and you have a broadcast account, whether it be on Twitch, Mixer, YouTube Gaming, Facebook, or maybe on Periscope. I don't know. Does Periscope have gaming broadcasts? I'm not sure. Join our Extra Life team, and you can do that at the same link as well. We will be taking part in Extra Life Game Day. You'll hear us talk more about it as the podcast goes on. Last year, we had some great times. A bunch of us playing Overwatch until Omni started singing. And, I mean, their singing was great. But, by then we were going sideways. And I know, a friend of the show, Manate, he was, Manate Rajaj, he was doing the 24-hour stream. And he did it hardcore. He did a full day of, work and then just started streaming for 24 hours. So actually no rest in between. So technically, a day and a half. But, again, it's good fun. It's a great campaign. It's one that's, personal to me, but us as here at Ready Set Pwn. So what you can do to support Extra Life and BC Children's Hospital Foundation, we truly appreciate it. So we're going to take a quick break and dive into the fray.
Back into the fray.
As I was sort of bouncing my head to the music that I could hear that the two of you could not, and again, for those of you listening to the podcast, nothing's amiss. You just heard the drop into the fray. If we continue to live stream, I should maybe have a scene that creates something that entertains those who are watching, outside of watching the absent-minded look of Omni and Sam as they wait for me to resume, knowing that they can talk again, and me bouncing my head and moving my fingers and dancing along to the music that I hear. I'm just saying, if we up the production value a little bit, it might be a good thing to have. Anyhow.
I mean, we could do that thing where, Omni and I count down 3, 2, 1, and then we all listen to the clip together on our own separate devices at the same time.
We could do that too. Or I could use some of the gear I have and actually have it set up so that it pipes everything through to everyone and what have you. But again,
there are plenty of production woes in Overwatch League. We don't have to add our own.
That's true. Ours is crisp already.
Yeah.
So before we get into the week that was, there was an adjustment that took place to the Overwatch League schedule after we went live last week, which is par for the course. There's always changes that occur. Though this one, I think, even caught the Overwatch League a little bit by surprise. So China adjusted. China adjusted. China introduced a day of mourning. This was this past Saturday. And the introduction of that day of mourning meant the Overwatch League needed to adjust their schedule. So instead of playing on Saturday, Sunday, the teams in Asia played Sunday and Monday. So I'm going to go and follow the updated schedule when I go through the results here, so please don't be alarmed. But kicking off Saturday, we had the Toronto Defiant beat the Washington Justice 3-1, the LA Gladiators beat the Dallas Fuel 3-0, and the San Francisco Shock beat the Los Angeles Valiant 3-1. On Sunday, the Shanghai Dragons beat the Hangzhou Spark 3-0, the Guangzhou Charge beat the Chengdu Hunters 3-2, Paris Eternal beat the Houston Outlaws 3-1, the Philadelphia Fusion beat the Washington Justice 3-0, and the Dallas Fuel beat the LA Valiant 3-2. And then on Monday, we had the Shanghai Dragons beat the Chengdu Hunters 3-1, and the Hangzhou Spark beat the Guangzhou Charge 3-2. As far as the matches to watch, Omni and I told you needed to watch the San Francisco Shock LA Valiant match, which actually, even though it was a 3-1 score, I thought was genuinely entertaining. And then we sort of split the board the following day, where Sam said watch the Charge Dragons, or Spark Dragons, and Valiant Fuel, while Omni said watch the Eternal Outlaws. I can't say I enjoyed Sunday as much as I did Saturday, although the Valiant Fuel match was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was the best one by far. Sam, you got it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes.
I like that acknowledgement. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that game was nuts. Nuts.
Let's talk a little bit about the Saturday.
Did we start with that one?
Let's
just start with that match.
The Fuel Valiant?
Yeah, first of all, I think it was the first win from the Fuel in more than a year. Their last victory was in their homestand last year. Yeah, Valiant finally falling apart like people predicted. Maybe not. It was kind of a tight match throughout. It was weird because DK said, okay, I know that Torb is a great counter to Tracer, but he just couldn't give a damn. I think he killed about like 30 or 40 turrets throughout that match. So essentially every battle was 5 players from Dallas trying to fight a team fight, and DK was just flanking around trying to get the turrets out of the way. And then he had such great efficiency with his pulse bombs, and he just clutched out so many fights that they had no business of winning at all. It was nuts. It was one of the best carry performances I've ever seen. I don't know how good it is for Dallas to rely that heavily on a player like DK, so I'm not really hopeful for Dallas to keep that streak. But man, that guy was scaring so hard on Tracer. He was clutching out those lost fights. The Torp hammer kills on Note were pretty nice. I liked seeing the chat. This time, no curse words there. We don't want to have to believe.
No body parts.
Let's acknowledge this.
No anatomy lessons this time.
The fact that chat's visible is a new thing. You can tell, the moment a match is over, production is like, let's change scenes, just in case. But I'm sorry, the words that got used, if we're talking no fun league level fighting, it's. I understand it's a slippery slope, and I understand that the game itself is marketing itself to a younger audience, but trust me, these kids have seen far worse than that if they've ever played this darn game.
It's just trying to put on, a professional look. It doesn't look good when you have big 100 million sponsors coming right after that. Brought to you by Coca-Cola and bleep, bleep, bleep and all that.
Well, no, but we didn't see anything like that though.
No,
right.
No,
the language that was used wasn't foul language. It was the words that were used in
sure.
Not ones that
the supposed tone.
Yeah,
I mean, they are words that you would hear in a grade 7 science class.
I think the words were one thing, but I think they should have censored that Dreamer Shatter when you just jumped up on that. That was the point where you had to take your kids out of the living room. disgusting. One of the like best plays I saw. They're standing up there on this freaking balcony. He's just trying to hop from the payload onto that platform, and he just walks into them and just smacks them. Oh my god, that was a really really good match. Throughout, it was really really.
And hey, look who they finally freed after 2 seasons. Harry Hook. He's
That's
alive.
right.
He's
Yeah,
still around.
Him and Crimzo really looked well in that match. Yeah, him, Crimzo, DK, obviously. Doha was fine. Node had some good plays, but it was a good match from the support line.
So riddle me this: the Dallas Fuel that I saw on Sunday were like an entirely different Dallas Fuel than I saw on Saturday. Is that the fact that they faced a very good LA team Saturday and a not so good LA team on Sunday? Like I feel it had more to do with the way Dallas approached the game than it was really the competition they faced.
I think it was hard for them to play with all the tears in their eyes when they were just when they had to fight against their old teammate OG, and like, we don't have that tank anymore. And he was so good in that match too. Yeah, I think Gladiators are a bit better competition than the Valiant are right now. Maybe, at least in that match. And we didn't see like DK say F it and I'm gonna go Tracer. Yeah, they have a lot of talent. They're not as coached as well as I think Gladiators are. Even OG said in an interview this week where the coaching in Gladiators emphasizes the teamwork and synergy from between players more, where in Dallas it was just like more, focused on.
Let's watch Decay.
Yeah, let's exactly right. Let's just hope that our what was the reported number? What were the reported numbers? Like 300K a player contract that he was.
I don't know, whatever it was.
Teams were fighting a lot. So
it's almost like the instructions would have been like, if we all pylon and stay still, we can become walls for Decay to run around and stay alive.
It worked. He finally justifies that big paycheck. So.
Yeah. But I think, sorry, just on the field one more second. The reason we make fun of them so much is not because they should be the worst team in the league. Their roster is decent, average. I wouldn't say great. I'm not going to, overcompensate on one game. But they have some standout players. And we saw, like, I keep mentioning, this is probably like the third time I've mentioned it, against the Shock in the first game of the season eons ago. Like, they looked pretty good. And they're capable of playing like that. The problem is, much like many years of us being Canucks fans, they show up when they show up, and when they don't, they look terrible. And that's why, us not being fans of the field specifically, and plus, their coaching staff being more arrogant, blah, 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 all the noise and all that stuff, it's just so much easier to make fun of them versus, say, season 1 Shanghai Dragons, when they were more pitiful than anything, and it was kind of bad to make fun of them.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Shanghai Dragons, and I just wanted to mention that it's very similar when a team comes from this really, really awful, like abysmal season. And despite the fact that they brought in so much talent, there was a time there in season 2 where everybody was still waiting on them to win a game. So there's, I don't know what you're going to call it, like a scar tissue or a cocoons. You got to drop off all the dead skin. So there's this culture of winning that you got to like make the players believe that they're on a good team, and it takes a while. So maybe it's like a first step in the right direction. Maybe some more weaker teams that they need to play against and win. I'm not sure, but they do have some talent there, and hopefully they find a system that works, not just waiting for Decay to kill like 3 people every fight.
So just to quickly scan through on Saturday, Defiant looked decent against the Justice. The Defiant team that we're seeing this season looks better than the one we saw last season. I think even Sam would concede.
You're just trying to like disregard the fact that the curse might have been broken.
What curse? They've been winning.
Well,
since I've been.
I was so far from that match, I don't even know the score.
Have you seen Tropic Thunder?
They're the team playing the team dressed up like the other team?
No, the other thing. You never go full attack Torb. And that's what Corey did. Like every map, it was attack Torb.
What's wrong with Attack Torb? It's just like the Attack
It's
Anna that I was
fine,
playing
but
last week.
they should have adjusted there a little bit.
Yeah. But the match that I found most entertaining was the San Francisco Shock LA Valiant match on Saturday. So the 3-1 score it almost makes you think, oh, the Shock had this all the way. No, they didn't. The Valiant, in my mind, lost this more than the Shock won. Now, the Shock did make one small, well, I mean, they made a couple changes.
Rascal.
I mean, we saw Choi come into the game, but it's the addition of Rascal. The moment Rascal came in, it was an entirely different San Francisco Shock. Once he was there, the Valiant struggled, and the Shock were able to clutch up and carry the play. The Valiant put up a fight, but I think Rascal was the difference maker, which begs the question, why has it taken so long for Rascal to get in? Is there something there, or is that just a matter of they have far too many players, and at some point in time, good ones need to sit?
Too many cooks? I don't know. It seems like they're still not focused. They're obviously not at the level they're supposed to be with all that talent. Their alt usage is questionable. It seemed like everything comes much harder for them this year than last year, where everything was like so natural and free flowing. They have to rely on plays from Rascal and Choi. It's not like a whole team playing there. It seems like that hive mind that they developed, like the ones we saw. They kind of play like the Titans did in the last stages of last year, even despite us winning games all the time until the very last game, right, in the finals. It still felt like a weaker team. And I feel like now with the hero pool meta and all that, they kind of have some sort of uncertainty there that kind of trickles in. They are a good team still, and obviously they are the main contender, but they're definitely nowhere near what they should be.
Sunday, any other matches we want to talk about there before we get into the week that will be?
Shanghai looks good.
We already sort of talked about.
Yeah, Paris, Philly also look good. Nothing to really say there. Chengdu, they lost. They just threw away a match against Guangzhou. The 2-3. They actually.
I guess we should say Sunday, Monday. I don't.
Yeah, the ones that were in the morning. No. I'm still talking about the matches that were played.
But that's why it's just like the Sunday and Monday. Because
sure.
I didn't stay up late to watch those, unlike Sam.
Lip is looking really good on Shanghai. Back to that game, I think he's the one that really carries the load. Everybody was expecting the flooded deadlift all the time, but it seems like he was actually a difference maker against the Spark. He's a really good Sombra.
He said he played poorly on the Sombra that day.
Ooh,
but Lip.
Oh, he said
but he was getting an alt like every 40 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, well,
his expectation it's every 35.
Yeah, I guess the other Sombra, who was it? Bazi or no? It was Bazi.
I think it was Bazi.
Dora was on the
whoever it was not as good.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
It doesn't matter.
So let's get into the week that will be. So first and foremost, we sort of talked about it already when we were talking about the bands in the payload. But banned this week are Diva, Reaper, Sombra, and Anna. This week, these were not chosen by a cat. No, they were chosen at random. I actually thought the way that Wolf and Nicholas brought they actually brought some semblance of professionalism to it. But I'm not knocking the entertainment value of having your cat, ban May. So, who's playing this weekend? Well, kicking off the weekend at 1 a.m. Pacific is the Hangzhou Spark versus the Chengdu Hunters, followed by the Vancouver Titans and Guangzhou Charge at 3 a.m. 1 p.m. Pacific is the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Paris Eternal. 3 p.m. is the Houston Outlaws against the Boston Uprising. 5 p.m. is the Washington Justice and Dallas Fuel. Then on Sunday, kicking off the evening, morning, whatever you want to say, is at 1 a.m. the Chengdu Hunters and your Vancouver Titans. 3 a.m. is the Shanghai Dragons and the Guangzhou Charge. At 1 p.m. is the Houston Outlaws, the Toronto Defiant. 3 p.m. is the Philadelphia Fusion, the Atlanta Reign. And then at 5 p.m. is the San Francisco Shock and LA Gladiators. As far as the matches to watch, I told everyone that they need to watch the Hangzhou Spark Chengdu Hunters match. Not because I think it's going to be a good one, it's because I'm going to be watching it if I'm going to stay up and watch the Titans at 3. Omni, you said to watch the Justice Fuel on Saturday, and then you and I both agreed to watch the Shock Gladiators on Sunday. Sam, no idea what he's going to watch this weekend.
About that Washington Justice Dallas game, I selected before that Philly against Paris because that's obviously a good matchup between two good teams. But then I thought, well, I want to see DK kill turrets again. So hopefully we'll see some of that.
Oh, okay. If we see more Torb this week, I would be completely shocked. And I'm not talking about situational Torb. I think, you might see a situational Torb, but like this past weekend, attack, defend, payload, control, hybrid didn't matter. Torb seemed to be the answer. Like it was unreal.
Aardvark pays off.
No, this week I'm entirely focused on the Titans. So if I want to watch more matches, I'll just rewatch the Titans matches.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. But again, we're curious for those of you who are going to be staying up late or getting up early. How are you approaching these Vancouver Titans matches, or really these Asian matches if you're wanting to watch those teams? I know for some of you the time might be convenient, but for those of us in North America, it's a little more difficult. So let us know at Ready Set Bone on Twitter, in RSP Cord, or in Titans Cord, or you can drop us an email and all sorts of other ways to get in touch. As far as Overwatch League news, probably the biggest news based on events, we're not going to get too much into the issue itself, is that the Boston Uprising have terminated the contract of Muffin. And he did some things that he may or may not be fessing up to. He shared a long explanation. I was trying to think of another adjective to describe it. I did not get through all of it.
You're not the only one.
It's a sad situation. I mean, it's obviously, I'm not trying to take away from its potential impact. It's just, it's not something that anyone really wants to see, especially when it comes to like a top tier game like this. And what is it with the Uprising? Like, this is now
strong curse.
Yeah, like I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think, Sam, I'm going to steal your words that you had dropped in Titans Cord, but everyone is responsible for their actions, and it has yet to occur to me that he has really owned up to them. And whether or not, maybe it's allegedly, but the Uprising terminating the contract, that doesn't just happen. Contracts, you just don't go and say, yeah, sorry. There needs to be some mechanism to allow that to take place. And it might be very team sided, where it's like a morality clause, or a clause that allows, like, if you put, bad press on us, we're going to send you away. But I'm sorry, it's not looking good. And I don't think you return from this. Like, here is someone who is going to be a pro video gamer. Like, this type of situation, no other organization I can ever imagine wants to touch us with the 20-foot pole.
Nor you should return. Yeah, that's a good decision by Boston.
But it's like, on the Uprising, I think we keep saying that they're cursed, but like, I put some responsibility on them too, right? Like, we talk a lot about what are the Titans doing for its players. Sometimes we're critical, and sometimes we sing praises on both sides, right? But the Uprising, this is 2 times now, right? Like, this is not okay. Whether like, who's right and who's wrong, like, let's forget about that. This is 2 separate, unrelated cases now. So what are the Uprising doing to educate its players to become, first of all, professionals, but secondly, like, they are teens, they are young. Like, you're teaching them to become adults. Mm-hmm. So like, I do put onus on the leadership crew there. Like, what in the world are they doing? If they're not going to be responsible for their own personal gaming brand, then what about the brand that you wear the jersey for, the brand that's paying you? Like, they have a responsibility to both those parties, right? And, honestly, in situations like this, I would be like, have some respect for yourself as well, and other people just in general. Like, there's just a lack of overall respect, and I'm sorry if I sound a little bit tilted, but like, to me, like there's so many issues in this world that I'd rather be focusing on and talking about. But these, like, in my opinion, I'm sorry, can be avoided with proper surroundings, with proper education, people making better choices. Yeah.
I agree. If it has been, I partially agree, because it is correct into some nature of other offenses that might have occurred. like the one we saw with Crystal. But when you talk about something of this nature, you should have scouted a little bit better, I think. I remember a thread somebody posted on Reddit that like someone actually predicted the next one, if it ever happens, it's going to be this guy, because there were some things about him that were known, and I think in Boston should have been like more
Prudent.
prudent about. Exactly. But like you said, it could be a culture, like organizational cultural thing. We saw some disturbing things pop out in traditional sports as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like toxic competitive environment like that. Remind me who the owner of the Boston Uprising is? Robert Kraft, is it not?
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
If you need to Google the name, you'll figure things out
So
pretty quick.
maybe it did have some impact, maybe it did not. It just like,
Well, no, but I think that it's not we're not trying to suggest that this is happening, but it goes to the where there is smoke, there is often fire,
Right.
and that often then also from an organizational perspective speaks to the organizational culture. And I think this sort of reinforces how what we've heard from the Vancouver Titans is here's what we want these kids to be. We want them to be professionals, but we want to set them up for success beyond where they are today, and providing them the educational support, the wellness support. Like it's just there's a way to go about it, and I think the Titans are by far on the right path.
In any organization, in any role, whenever like an organization brings a person on board, especially if it's like in a very like elite level of a role, like the top 1% of the entire population, you got to vet these players a little bit harder, or candidates.
Yeah,
rather.
and think about how hard we were on the Fisher signing, right? Like, right or wrong, whatever works out, whether Fisher works out or not, like, the fan base was on the team, and the team made sure, hopefully, did its due diligence. And what was that over? Him being toxic, him tilting, like him leaving the team, like all stuff that's
More
in the
performance-based,
yeah, more performance based, much more artificial than the stuff that we're talking about right now, right? So it's unfortunate.
The other changes that we're seeing in the league, I mean, it's sort of hand in hand. We saw a number of retirement announcements, which may or may not be tied to the fact that Valorant is currently gone into beta, private beta for those who are lucky enough to score one of the few keys that seems to be available to those watching on Twitch. But we've seen a drastic change on the tier 2 scene. I mean, we would have to go an entire podcast to outline everything that has happened. But the one note that I had in our notes here was that the Toronto Defiant have dropped the Montreal Rebellion. So that was their tier 2 academy team. Why this, is a topic that I wanted to get into is one, me, Toronto Defiant, I like talking about them, but I think it's indicative of where the Overwatch League currently sits. There is a lot going on in this world. There's financial instability that's taking place from an organizational or a league perspective. And here you have, a team that went out or an organization that went out and acquired all of these properties, suddenly deciding this is a cost center that we no longer wish to support. And we talked a lot about this going into the season, how Toronto is really trying to sort of slap that maple leaf on their chest. They had the Canadian roster. They were really, trumpeting the fact that they had the Canadian Academy team. And now they've just said, yeah, we pulled the plug. And I mean, the team's done. Like the majority of the players retired.
It's unfortunate. There are like a lot of things that go into that. Like you said, there's this new game coming up, so everybody's super excited. I'm not sure if everybody was like going out and on Twitter if it weren't for Valorant saying, announcing the fact they're retiring from the video game, which is kind of silly. Like I think XQC was actually the sane voice in the room when you just said on the stream, I don't see what they're doing. Like, why are you announcing that you're retiring from this game? But for tier 2, we always knew it was like very hard to support as is, even when things were going well. And as we know, COVID and everything else is having such a huge impact on everything. You think the G League, the second league for the NBA, is doing well right now? You can bet that they're not doing great. It's always tier 1, and somewhere like underneath, it's tier 2 is not really underneath tier 1 in terms of financial stability. It's always way lower. So these are the first things to get hurt the most. We're actually lucky to even have Overwatch League not canceled entirely on us. So it's expected. It's unfortunate, but hopefully once everything goes back to normal, these teams find that financial platform or stability to build off of. But as is right now, I think it's very, very knee jerky in terms of, oh, boohoo, Overwatch is a dead game and all that. But we don't know what Valorant is going to turn into. It might be a really fun game, but
it might be, but it's not Overwatch. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've talked about this in previous episodes. I struggle when blanket statements are made about this is the such and such killer. I mean, how Apex was the Fortnite battle royale killer.
Right. And these games come and go. And Overwatch, while it doesn't have that same following it used to, it's still there in a way because people really, really like it. I think Dr. Disrespect actually said something about, and he came into Overwatch fairly recently. He's stuck somewhere in like silver and gold. He said, like, while it's hard for someone to spectate, and he compared it to Valorant, it's a really fun game to play, despite the fact that he's really suffering in that game a lot. It's a game that you love and hate in a way, and I don't think like Valorant has that. It's something that's really hard to point at. Is it the visual design? Is it the characters? But it's you hate yourself for it, but you'll play like 20 games and you want to just break your computer. But at one game you get that just goes perfectly, it's like it's worth everything. And I think it's also similar in a way, and even more so when you watch when you spectate the sport as a viewer. As for Valorant, I did have those streams open in the background, and I do want to get that key, and we're not going to all try it out. But man, it's rough just looking at other people play it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not built.
Yeah,
it's not built for a spectator game.
So it's not. People say, "Oh, it's an Overwatch killer." It's not. It's not close to Overwatch. It's more in line with CS with some, some skills.
Animal Crossing's an Overwatch killer.
Overwatch, Overwatch, I mean, 3 will come out and
yeah. I mean, well, and the thing to consider, Overwatch as we know it today is in the downswing. Overwatch 2 is on the horizon, and so long as Overwatch 2 is on that horizon and we're getting closer to it, we're sort of in this, sort of lame duck period with a game that's not dying. It's going through an evolution. It's a metamorphosis that's going to take place. And there are people who are finding sort of the new and shiny. Valorant, yeah, I'll play it. It's not my type of game. I was never into CS. CS was not my style of game whatsoever. In fact, like back in the day when my brother and I would play it, my brother, who was really good at the game, essentially used me as bait. I was the guy that, hey, Chris, go run around that corner. Okay, boom. And then my brother would know where they were, and then he'd snipe them or whatever. But like that wasn't fun for me. I enjoy playing Overwatch. I enjoy the game, but it's the people I get to play with. It's when we're playing together, we're doing stupid stuff. When friend of the show Smith Storm, when I announced to him, yeah, I'm gonna go do something stupid, he's like, oh my god, please, stupidity. I'm empowered to enjoy the small stuff about it.
I actually opened CS for the very first time today. I've never done that before. I bought the game years ago. I don't know why I never played it.
Yeah. So how long did you play it?
Very dated. 20 minutes. Wow. It felt very dated. So I think if anybody's got to be worried, it's got to be the Valve guys. But I do have to say that I'm impressed by Riot's rollout, by their ability to create hype. Will it sustain? Like, probably not to the degree that you see it on day one, but I think it's impressive nonetheless. And I think there's a lot of lessons Blizzard could learn from them, frankly speaking.
Yeah, I think Valve has lost the ability to worry about anything a long, long time ago. They're just covered in heaps of cash to protect.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I've got $100 bills. Speaking of Overwatch, though, a patch was rolled out. What's interesting about the patch is that most of the changes were present in experimental just a week ago, and then most of those changes got pushed out. We didn't see a PTR of it. It was truly experimental to live. I get that experimental was used to sort of iterate and do some crazy things a little bit quicker, but this is much quicker than I would have expected. I'm not going to go through all of the changes myself, but you had Ash and Genji who were buff-ish, and I say ish because there were some changes sort of down, but for the most part, it's a buff. You had Farah and Mei who were kind of nerf-ish, and again, it's not to suggest they were completely nerfed. There was sort of some changes. The big one on Mei, though, is that her primary fire has been reduced. She can't just run around freezing the world. The Rhine nerf, I'm confused by, because they... And it could be that maybe I'm not seeing the big picture here, but you had Reinhardt, his knockback reduction up to 50%. They've knocked it back down to 30%. Was that so much of an issue? Was like Reinhardt not being able to be booped a problem?
Yes, but it didn't like completely canceled it, right? It just reduced it a little bit.
It reduced it, but that's the thing. Like to me, of all the changes, that's the one that catches me, because I think there's other areas that the development team should be focused on. Like I had never heard any feedback. Oh my God, Reinhardt broken, can't boop him anymore.
You're just deaf to those criticisms of your favorite hero.
Yeah. Just to jump into chat here, is this pre-recorded? No, not at all. And that was a comment that we got in the live stream. We're just focused on recording the episode for the podcast. That's sort of why we're doing what we're doing. But I appreciate you jumping in, and you are correct. Source was the better version of Counter-Strike. CS:GO it was the commercial experience for the competitive scene, at least in my mind. The last thing is, where it stands right now. Are we going to continue to see these minor tweaks? Do you see any major change? I mean, we have a new hero coming that I would imagine results in some form of balance change. But this is the new world, right? It's just the small tweaks. So again, Sam, back to your bet. Just saying.
Hey, Overwatch 2 comes out, I'll talk about the Defiant for an entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's part of Echo just coming in, the Ashe buff for a certain. She's not really seeing any playtime despite hero bans and whatnot. I really like playing Ashe. I think it's a long time coming, this buff. Yeah, I'm happy about it.
So
I really don't like Ashe. I don't like Bob either.
Can I mute you?
See, this is the thing. Is like between a McCree and an Ashe, I'd prefer an Ashe, and not that I'm good at either one of them, but I prefer especially when I'm in Mr. Heroes, if I get an Ashe, I'm like, oh, fun. Let me go and empty an entire rifle cartridge into nothing because I can't hit the broadside.
And then it takes like a week to reload.
Exactly. So here we are at the end of the episode. For those of you who tuned into the live stream, again, thank you for tuning in. For those of you who have yet to tune in, I hope that you do in the future. We aren't going to have a live stream next week, and that, again, is due to some scheduling changes that we're having to make, but we will have a regularly scheduled podcast episode that you will see go live Wednesday, high noon Pacific, as they normally do. Now, before I go and ask for those final words of wisdom, just a few things or housekeeping items I'd always share each and every episode. The first one is about reviews. If you go and review our podcast on Podchaser, and the easiest way to do that is to go to podchaser.com/ReadySetBomb. They actually have a sort of fundraising campaign that will donate a quarter to the United States Meals on Wheels COVID-19 fund for every review left. And then if we reply to that review, another additional quarter is donated. Now you might think a couple of quarters, that's not a whole lot, but see, the power of you at the force of nature, leaving those reviews for our podcast makes those quarters add up. And it's not just our podcast that you can review on Podchaser. You can review any other podcast that you might listen to, so long as it's there. So I encourage you to go to podchaser.com/ReadySetBone. The incentive, Podchaser's donating some money for the next essentially week and a half. And the second bonus is that, as we are apt to do, we will read that review verbatim on the following episode from the review being left. It can be a great review, it could be a horrible review. We'll read them all. The only change that we might make is to the language that you might use, because again, I would prefer that we don't go and get ourselves put in the explicit category of any of the podcast apps that you're listening to. Now, if you want to hear yourself on a future episode. The easiest way to go about that is to send us a message. Now, there are two different ways to go and send a message. The first one is by using a phone. You can dial 1-604-409-3324. That's 1-604-409-3324. You can send a text message, or you can drop us a voicemail. Or if you want to do it straight on any device that you happen to be using, go to voicelink.fm/readysetpwn. You can send us a message there, text message. You can also record a message that we can then in turn play in a future episode. Thoughts on the podcast, thoughts on something we said, thoughts on the fact that Sam hates the Titans suddenly and we don't quite understand why. Pretty much there is nothing in the way of you sharing some of your own words of wisdom. So, as we are wrapping things up, what final words do you wish to share with all of our listeners there, Omni?
MA nerf flattens the curve.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
Sam, how about you?
I'm going to quote our good friend Daybok Owl. Just remember that there are two types of owl players right now, Valorant or Animal Crossers.
As for me, thank you for obviously tuning in each and every week. I also want to give a huge shout out to all of you that helped us break the 9,000 download barrier. We are well on our way to the 10K mark. It is phenomenal the amount of support that we've seen from you, our listeners, and again, we do it because not only do we enjoy hearing our voices, but it's the feedback that we receive from you, the community we've built around the podcast, whether it be in Titans Cord or even in RSP Cord. And if you feel that you're not yet part of that community, join our Discord. Easiest way to do that is discord.io/readysetpwn. So, on behalf of myself at Lightforce, also known as Chris, Sam at another Sam Chan, who still needs his key to Valorant, and Omni at OmniStrife, I'm going to sign off this episode with those magical two words, catchphrase!